In alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah, we're continuing with the topic of how to attain happiness in life as Muslims. How can we continue on since Ramadan has ended, fulfilling our obligations to Allah, becoming righteous, getting close to Him, and at the same time find happiness in our life here? We talked about money. What are the sources of happiness? Many people think that money is the number one source of happiness. They think just because they're rich, or if they were rich, they would be happy. But we found out from yesterday's lecture and the quiz today that that is not necessarily true. In fact, it's not true. People who are rich end up being the most unhappiest people on earth. Why? Because being rich is a blessing from Allah, and it's also a test. When Allah blesses you with wealth, He wants to see what you will do with it. How will you spend it? Will you become stingy, greedy? Will you waste it? Will you splurge it? Will you help others, or will you just throw it away? So a lot of people can't find happiness even though they're rich. So now today we're going to go to the second category that many people think is the category that brings about happiness. And that is, what about power and rank? Power and rank. A lot of people think if I had a powerful job or a powerful position, or if I was of a high status, what if I was a princess? If I was only a princess, if I was only a king or queen, I would be happy. Is that true? Well, our way of life, Islam teaches us that if you are given a position of power or a position of authority, this is a trust. This is a trust given to you that you will answer to Allah for. Allah is going to ask you, what did you do with that power? What did you do with that position? Did you help others, or did you harm and oppress others with it? Did you use that power, that position, to benefit those who were in need, or did you use it to take them down even more? In fact, our way of life, Islam teaches us that only a righteous, competent person should be given a position of authority, a position of power, a position of rank. And this is something that Muslims today need to ponder and understand, because so many Muslims out there are quick to say that they want to be a scholar, they want to be a person of power, an imam, they want to be in a high-ranking position, but they don't understand the burden that that position brings upon them, and also how they're held accountable to Allah. For example, if you are an imam, the imam's job is to lead the people in the prayer. But a lot of ignorant Muslims today think that just because you're an imam, you now have become a scholar. So now you done made yourself a scholar, and you go around issuing fatwa to people, putting yourself in a position that you ain't qualified of because you have no knowledge or understanding. You're going to answer to Allah for that. Allah is going to hold you to account for what you did with that position that He's given you. Okay? In order to hold positions of power and rank, guys, you have to be a person who is just. You have to not only have knowledge and understanding of your way of life, but you have to have good morals, good character. You have to be able to deal with the people on their level. You have to be able to answer the concerns of the people. And very few of us can do that. Okay, so, is power, is rank, are these keys to happiness? Well, let's look at what's going on today. There are so many people, you can turn on the news, who Allah has blessed with power, who Allah has blessed with rank and title, did it bring happiness to them? If you look at these people, most of them have lost the public's confidence. Most of them, their own people have taken them down. For example, look at the picture I have on the screen here. This is a person who was a powerful ruler. Look what happened to him. Look how he was taken down because he was of a position. He was of a rank that he did not live up to. So he was taken down by his own people. Look how many kings, look how many rulers have been overthrown, assassinated. Emperors, presidents, etc. For example, look at the Shah of Iran. The Shah of Iran was once organized, he once organized an international ceremony to commemorate the passing of 2,500 years since the birth of the Persian state. For those of you who don't know, Iran used to be called Persia. That's Persia. You read about Persian history, they talk about the country Persia, they're talking about Iran. The Shah of Persia, the Shah of Iran, he had all the power and all the rank, all that. But when the end came, it was heavy. He was run out of his own country by a public revolt. And he spent the rest of his life, guys, wandering from one country to another until he eventually died a miserable death in Egypt as a result of chronic cancer. SubhanAllah. But again, he had all the power, all the status, the Persian Empire, the Persian world. But look how he died. He was no longer allowed to go back to Persia. He was kicked out of his own homeland that he loved so much. Him and his family and relatives. And he had to beg other countries to allow him in. And he had the title, the power, as the Shah of Iran. How about another example? Ferdinand Marcos. Many of you from this part of the world, Brother Melvin and others, y'all probably heard of him. He was a man who for 20 years literally owned the Philippines. And he ruled it as if it were a family empire. But look how he met his end. He, just like the Shah of Iran, he was thrown out of his country by the people. And he spent several years afterwards in exile, hiding for fear of being murdered. But before that, he had all the power, all the high rank. He owned the Philippines. SubhanAllah. So did power, did status and rank bring him happiness? No. Here's another example. Brother Muhammad. Those of you from the continent. Jean Bedel Bokassa. He considered himself an emperor. In fact, the emperor of the Republic of Central Africa. This was a man who spent for his coronation more than his country's total gross national product just for his own coronation. But it was short-lived because he was later toppled by his own countrymen, and right now he is serving a life imprisonment sentence for abuse of his power, abuse of his status, abuse of his rank. So, did power, rank, bring him happiness? No. And it doesn't just stop there. What about my European students here? You guys have heard of Nicolae Ceausescu. This is a famous man who built a palace made out of pure gold. And he was not known as the ruler of Romania, but the owner. He was used to brag about owning Romania. His people rebelled against him too. He used tanks and artillery that and during their revolution, whereas 64,000 people were killed by him as his peoples fought to overthrow him. Later, he was caught trying to run away, trying to escape the country, but he was killed right in the eyes of the people who he claimed to own. There's his picture. Did the power, did the rank, did the status bring him happiness? We're not done. I got Muslims here from India, Pakistan, that part of the world too. I'm sure you guys have heard of Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi, he was another man of power and status. But what happened to him? He was assassinated publicly. And when he was assassinated, that closed the chapter of his unpopular dynasty. There he is. Rajiv Gandhi. Did power, rank, bring him happiness? And what about today? Let's get to a more modern example. What's going on today? Bashar al-Assad, who was a Syrian politician, the 19th and current president of Syria. He was also the commander-in-chief of the Syrian Armed Forces, regional secretary of the Arab Socialist Ba'ath Party's branch in Syria, the son of Hafiz al-Assad. He was viewed as a potential reformer. However, the United States, the European Union, and the majority of the Arabic League called for his resignation after he allegedly ordered crackdowns and military sieges on Arab Spring protesters. And that's what led to the war that's still being fought right now, the Syrian civil war. Also during the war, an inquiry was made by the United Nations. They claimed that they found evidence which implicated Assad as being guilty of war crimes. In 2014, he was listed as a war crime person. Of course, he denies the allegations, but you guys know this is still going on. This is 2018, and this war is still going on. Bashar al-Assad is still in the news as he's fleeing, hiding out. Did power, did rank, did that bring him happiness in life? Is it bringing him happiness? So thus, guys, you can see to have a high position or high power does not guarantee or bring about happiness. In fact, if you are of a position of power and authority, it can serve as your means of destruction. So don't be one of those Muslims aspiring to become a scholar or a governor or a ruler. Because if you're not qualified for such positions, guys, it will be your downfall, as it is for these people here. So if it's not money, if it's not power, then what is the true source of happiness? Well, come tomorrow. You're going to have to tune in to this series tomorrow. Join us tomorrow here at Sunnahfollowers.net at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come here, take the quiz, and let's review and see if there's another source of happiness for us in this world. Okay? So we'll stop right here for today. If you guys have any questions or comments, inshallah.